Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to another video. If y'all stopping by the channel for the first time, or if you've been here before, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can also unsubscribe to the channel and resubscribe for those who are already subscribed. That's an option for you. Appreciate the love, you guys. We are, if you're breathing air today, you're already winning. If no one has told you that today, just know that you're already freaking winning. Type winning in the comments down below. We about to get this money in 2025 with a hella high water. And you got to believe that. And you know, when I talk to my students, I always try to inject some positivity, because money only flows to high energy sources. Now, of course, there's always going to be some examples where that isn't necessarily the case, but where significant sums of money flow consistently over long periods of time, generally speaking, it is because money is high energy. Money is high energy, okay? So money is energy, I should say. Money is energy. Now, if you want lots of money, you're going to need to be a high energy source, because if you look at physics, if you look at science, energy only flows from one energy source to another high energy source. And so you need to be bringing that energy in anything you do. But those of you who have already saved up your emergency fund, those of you who already have a primary residence, you're already building wealth through having a home and having your own home, like you actually own the property, whether or not you're paying a mortgage on it, you still technically own it. A lot of people want to argue with that fact, but the fact of the matter is that even if you have a mortgage on a home, you're still the owner. Some people are like, well, you don't own it because you still owe the bank. Well, that's where you're wrong. And, you know, you can be wrong. It's okay. You can learn. The thing is when you sign a mortgage, you're essentially, when you get a loan from a bank and you get a mortgage for your home, you are the buyer. The bank is not the buyer. Look at the sales agreement. Look at your settlement page. The settlement page doesn't make the bank the owner. The property is the collateral. What collateral is the thing that can be repossessed in the event that the borrower doesn't make good on the promise to repay back the money. Now, a lot of people are just so hell-bent on what they think they know versus doing a little bit of homework and research to find out what really is. So anyway, now you know. So even if you are still paying on your home, even if you're still making mortgage payments, you're still a home owner. Think about how many people have mortgage interest rates of less than 3%. And obviously, if you bought a home in the last 2 years, you are probably not one of them. Unfortunately, the window of super low mortgage interest rates has closed. Hopefully, I don't know if I should say hopefully, but one day that might open back up. But the point is this. There are a lot of very financially smart individuals who have positioned themselves to have mortgages that are 3% or lower. We happen to have a less than 3% mortgage rate on multiple homes right now. We got really lucky. Shout out to my brother on that one. Didn't even realize interest rates had fallen until he told me. But anyway, so there are people out here with below 3% mortgage rates that have chosen not to pay their mortgages off. And one of the biggest reasons for that is right now we're in this really interesting time period, and I've actually been here before doing something different. Hopefully I'll explain that a little bit later. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, chase too many rabbits. we're in a situation where we have locked in long-term mortgage debt at under 3%, but I have access to banks that are paying me over 4% to keep cash in the bank. A lot of people are like, well, I don't trust the banks. I don't like the banks. I understand that. But while I don't necessarily trust banks, I know how to use banks and use them in a way where I don't need to trust them. So right now, I mean, so you have people out here who have the payoff balance of their mortgages in the bank paying them more than they would earn if they were to pay them. So basically, the bank is paying them more than they would save if they were to pay the mortgage balance off. Let me say that again, because I did a lot of a lot of folks are sitting on the mortgage balances in cash, and they have that cash sitting in an FDIC insured account that pays them more than they would save if they were to use that money to pay the mortgage balance off. So in that case, there's no incentive to pay the balance of the mortgage off, and they still remain being the owner of the property. The mortgage makes no difference. The mortgage allows them, and this is why I like to use this is where I like to use debt. Now, Dave Ramsey, he probably won't agree with me on this one, because I know Dave well enough to know that he wants everyone out of debt as quickly as possible, and really with no exceptions. And that's cool. I followed Dave Ramsey for many years, but I had to modify Dave's plan for me. And it's all good. Like, at the end of the day, if your goal is financial independence, then you're eventually going to get the financial freedom that comes with it. How you get there is entirely up to you, as long as you choose a plan that works for you. Some people, and I really like Dave's plan. It's like, if you follow Dave Ramsey's plan, it's almost like, if you have no strategy whatsoever, if you just follow his plan, you almost cannot fail. So it's a very good plan. However, if you want to really move faster, there are other options available, which I have discovered and I leverage. And it's like, man, if I follow Dave's plan to a T, just doing the math, I would be well off, but I wouldn't be nearly as well off as I am today if I did. So there's people out here, in other words, with mortgages, they're still owners of the home, even though there's an outstanding balance on the mortgage, but it doesn't matter. Just pay the minimum payment and keep it moving. Now, I like real estate for a number of reasons. Real estate is one of those asset classes that has historically been pretty, if you're risk averse, real estate has been actually probably one of the more tame, one of the more mild volatility assets available. Like, if you compare real estate to the stock market, it's a no-brainer. The stock market is going to have way more volatility in general than the real estate market has historically. I mean, if you just look at the VIX over the last 30 years and then compare it to, real estate, it's like, there's a no-brainer. Now, obviously, there are some stocks available that have lower volatility than the stock market as a whole. So if you're like really risk averse, there are stocks out there that grow, just typically not as aggressively, but they appreciate over time, but they have lower risk. They have lower volatility. But generally speaking, when it comes to the stock market, at least, usually if you're going with a lower risk investment, the appreciation or the amount of money that you can make over a period of time is typically not going to be as high. But there's a strong correlation in the stock market or in stock market investing between risk and the reward or possibility of reward. Typically, the greater the risk, the greater the opportunity for the reward. Cool thing about real estate, though, is real estate has pockets of opportunity, and real estate allows you to use leverage. And if you're smart about the use of leverage, then you can make a lot of money in real estate. You can actually make more money per dollar invested than you can in the stock market. Now, one of the things I want to do is I'd like to position us to be able to purchase a property in an area that we like to vacation at. I think that would be a phenomenal investment if we can make the numbers work. And I'm pretty sure I can make the numbers work. It's just going to take some work on my end to find the right property and structure the right deal in order to make that work. So for example, let's just say we spend about $20,000 a year on vacations. So what I want to do is I want to structure a deal so that I could possibly save $20,000 a year by owning a property in an area that we typically vacation at, that we get to stay at for free while we're there, and we keep it rented out when we're not there through, let's just say, Airbnb or VRBO or some other. We'd make it a short-term rental, and we just block off the days that we want to use it. Now, based on the research that I've done, the periods of time where we would want to use the property just so happen to be the peak times. And this is what a lot of people don't realize initially, that you need to consider if you're thinking about doing an Airbnb that you want to use yourself. And I'm not saying it can't work, but it's definitely going to eat into your profits. But me, I'm not really buying the property to just like make a ton of money off of it. If I did, that would be easier. If I were literally buying a property with the intent of it being a short-term rental and never really using it, that deal would be easier to structure to make a lot of money off of. But I'm trying to structure a deal that is so amazing, that has so much cash flow throwing off of it, that we can afford to use the property during peak season, during peak times. And even though we're not collecting rent, because if we're staying in it, we can't rent it. It needs to throw off so much profit that even though we might use the property during a peak time, that there's so much profit that even missing out on, say, several weeks of the property not being available for rent during peak season, we still make money off of it while we're using it. So that's something that I'm working on. And I'll probably bring you guys along, show you guys some of the properties that we look at, share the numbers, the types of financing available. Because think about it. Imagine you like to go vacationing, and imagine you structure a deal where you leverage your credit. That's why I always talk about the importance of credit. You leverage your credit to be able to buy these specific assets that allow you to use them virtually for free and make money off of them when you're not using them. So, unfortunately, a lot of folks use their good credit. Even if it's not necessarily good, it's even worse if you got bad credit, because then you're paying higher interest rates and less favorable terms. But a lot of folks use their credit to buy consumer goods. And while that's great for the economy, it's horrible for your personal net worth, because you end up financing consumer goods that basically immediately go down in value, and then you pay interest on it, and that money going to interest cannot be invested. And it's really a horrible cycle. Now, I'm not saying don't buy nice things. I like nice things. I like branded nice things. I like some things that are not necessarily branded, but it's like the order of operations, kind of like math, right? There's an order of operations that if you execute properly, you end up winning. And when I was a kid, I used to think if I saw someone driving a very expensive car, a sports car, a luxury car, I automatically assumed that, oh, they must be rich. as I got older and I realized, I was like, oh, you don't necessarily have to be rich to drive those things. You could rent them. You can go on Turo, rent a sports car, a luxury car. If you got decent enough credit, you can just finance one. And you could be broke as hell driving one of these really nice cars. Literally just being a slave to your job because you're taking every dollar that you earn to make a car payment on a vehicle that you can't afford. Now, on the other hand, there are people driving some very expensive, beautiful vehicles, luxury sport SUVs, Range Rover SVRs, Mercedes-Benz GLS 63s, beautiful vehicles. And they're not even working. Some of these folks don't even have jobs. And you might wonder, like, how is this even possible? How are they doing this? Well, by structuring your investments and your business in such a way where your passive income pays for your toys. There's also such things as Section 179 of the IRS tax code, and I'm not a tax advisor or anything like that, but there are different tax loopholes that enable you to write off large percentages of your vehicle purchases. Now, at one point, I think Section 179 allowed you to write off like 100% of the vehicle purchase in the first year, which is crazy. You could buy a freaking $200,000 car and write the whole dang thing off in the first year. I don't know. I know Section 179 still exists, but I don't know if you can still do 100%. But the point is like, you know, a lot of the wealthy individuals, wealthy people who were not born rich, like were not born from wealthy parents, they learned the game. And that's the key, guys. Learning the game, understanding the rules, and then leveraging them. So masters of the tax code, masters of the game, they can take advantage of the rules that have already been in existence. So, you know, that's one of the keys, understanding the game. And the more of the game you understand, the more options you realize are at your disposal to help you to do the things you want to do in life financially. So anyway, I really do hope that this information, that this video, that this conversation was helpful to you, because there's so many options available to us today, guys. And we frequently often talk about this great wealth transfer, but it is upon us. And those who are ready will greatly benefit from this. But unfortunately, those who are not ready, they will be victims of the wealth transfer. A lot of people ask, well, where's this wealth transfer? Where's the money coming from the wealth transfer? Well, the money is going to be coming from various places. But one of the places will be from the people who are, number one, they're unaware that the wealth transfer is taking place. Another source of this wealth transfer is going to come from people. Wealth always comes from people. Never forget that. Money always comes from people. Every person on this planet has money in their pocket. That's where the wealth is. Never forget that. Now, those who don't understand the game are typically going to be the ones, or are the ones, that are paying those who do understand the game and are leveraging it. So we'll definitely go into more details on that. I'll give you guys just a kind of high level overview, but it's going to be real fun. Now, if you're not ready to take advantage of this, definitely make sure you and your family start educating yourselves, get positioned, because this is going to be one of the greatest velocity wealth transfers in American history. Those who are ready will be receiving levels of wealth that they've never, ever believed to be possible. Unfortunately, those who are not aware of this and are not strategically positioned will only hear about or see other people benefiting from this. Meanwhile, they're in their miserable existence, struggling to get by, living paycheck to paycheck, and finding themselves broke and broker as more people build wealth, the value of the dollars that they do have, the value of the few dollars that they do have, they're going to realize that their few dollars consistently go less far than they used to. And so even as they continue to earn the same amount, they're going to find themselves in this difficult position of trying to get by versus watching those around them thrive. And the other thing I have to bring up, since I just said that, is oftentimes those around them will struggle too. So they may not actually see the success of others, because oftentimes broke people hang out with other broke people. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but the problem with that is, because being a broke person is not a problem. It doesn't make you a bad person, I should say. But if you're only surrounding yourself with other broke people, it's hard to break the cycle, because no one's doing anything different to kind of like shine the light on what you could be doing or should be doing. And then you end up kind of like self-perpetuating these broke activities. Now, I've been broke before, so I'm speaking from firsthand experience, and it sucks. But once you realize why that's happening and who you need to be surrounding yourselves with, then that becomes the game changer variable that needs to be injected in and of itself. Anyway, if you guys appreciate the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.